I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to review the movie A Christmas Carol that stars Guy Pearce. It came out in, 2019, I believe? So not too long ago. I watched this today on Disney Plus. I was really, really impressed. My first question to you, obviously, when did you first watch this?
I saw it in 2019. It was a very
Nice.
prestigious TV presentation. It was around the time Mandalorian also premiered, had its first episode. So it was maybe just a few weeks before. But it was high gloss. You know, we've entered this time where effects and editing and filmmaking styles and things like that have gotten so good that it's television and video are interchangeable. And this was before COVID, after which it really became, interchangeable. And so this was really one of the first big, glossy, prestigious productions, I think, of that new era.
Yeah, and it's really, really good the way they filmed this too. The light visuals from how dark the rooms are to the daylight actually. And another thing too I want to ask you too is because this doesn't just get into Ebenezer Scrooge. This also really gets into Jacob Marley too, heavily.
Excellent.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was properly collegial when it needed to be. They were colleagues, and friends, and it was properly terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the cosmos has never had an intervention this profound, and Marley is the tip of that spear.
You and I were having a brief discussion right before we came on here about A Christmas Carol, that the Dark Shadows Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this Christmas Carol is the Christmas Carol Dan Curtis would have did.
Was there a lot of day for night?
Well, in a way, it gets into not just the lack of humanity, but it gets into the realization of what humanity really means. Not just for Scrooge, but for other people. For Bob Cratchit's wife, for Bob Cratchit himself, for Tiny Tim, and for the people who have been around Scrooge prior to Scrooge hitting it rich, and for Marley as well, Jacob Marley. I almost call him Bob Marley, but for Jacob Marley, because this plot, yes, it is centered around Scrooge, but it's also centered around Jacob Marley as well.
Yes,
and that's something we really had not seen in A Christmas Carol, not like this anyway. Because they get, sorry if I'm like talking too much, but they get into Jacob Marley's past along with Ebenezer Scrooge. It's not just one over the other.
Yeah.
Eventually, slowly it becomes that once they get away from the Ghost of Christmas Past, but you hear about how Jacob and Ebenezer really got rich. You actually see how it happened. And the blackmail schemes they used. And then you also see what Ebenezer sort of somewhat did to Cratchit's wife to give her the money. And it's like, again, I could really see Dan Curtis take, because what Dan Curtis did too was Dan Curtis asked in Dark Shadows, can a monster be a man and can men be monsters? Well, that's asked here too, in every way.
Yeah, well, it's pretty evident from the beginning that they can.
Yeah. What did you think? Sorry.
Well, Julie, that's a huge spice ball of nuance. There's a lot going on there. What do I think? I think I agree with you. Of course. What do you want me to talk about for the Dan Curtis thing or you were all over the map. It was a great map. No, it's not bad.
The Dan Curtis thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Dan would have enjoyed the lavishness of this. I think he would have enjoyed the chance to work with some great actors. I I think certainly the tone of it he would have been comfortable with. The fact that it, like, House of Dark Shadows, it pushes things a little further than I think the audience expects. And he enjoyed that shock factor. So, yeah, I think there's a lot that Dan Curtis would have enjoyed.
And where Bill Murray's Scrooge has a lot of satire in it with the darkness, this has no satire. This is all darkness and not complete pure horror, but close enough to it that you're sort of petrified to the degree of holy shit. Because it starts off with Jacob Marley's grave getting peed on, and you see Jacob Marley laying in his coffin in the ground, and the 2 coins are on his eyes, and then he just like, why it won't let me rest. And then you see the chains go around him and stuff. It's like,
yeah, the mythology of all of that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was. I don't ever remember getting this in A Christmas Carol ever.
No, this is all, they just made this up.
Yeah,
it's not in the book.
Yeah, this was let me see here. Yeah, this was written by Stephen Knight and directed by Nick Murphy.
I don't know them.
I don't know them either, but they wrote. Stephen Knight did a hell of a job writing this and making because, I mean, it's not hard to let the cat out the bag. There are a lot of Christmas Carol movies. I mean, and a lot. So to make it this different and make it fresh all over again, because that's always the challenge with making something that has a lot of other titles that are similar, and that has always gets made seemingly every generation or so. So it's sort of like Mutiny on the Bounty. It gets remade a lot. So this gets remade more, but this time they tell a much, not just a much darker version, which they do, but they get into lore of different characters such as Jacob Marley to give it that fresh feel. And even Ebenezer too. Ebenezer is really haunted before any ghost ever appears.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think we asked this yesterday. Part of the question is maybe long Christmas Day. I think part of the question is, of course, forgotten by me. Oh my Lord. What are we talking about? Were we talking about Bob Cratchit? No. Guy Pearce. Jacob Marley was one of those guys. Yeah, we're talking about Jacob Marley. And that Scrooge's relationship with Marley is something you read a lot into. Now, you, of course, read too much into it, and we don't have to do that, though, to understand what a blow this is, and that, Scrooge has some deep depression. I think that's why he doesn't redecorate Marley's house.
Yeah.
Is because this is the last of his only friend.
Yeah. Jake, you get every sense that other than his, and they do get into the sister as well, where the sister saved him. That's something we never see either, where the sister pulls a gun on a man who they clearly were hinting was molesting Ebenezer Scrooge, I take it.
Yeah.
At least that was my takeaway. And she pulls the gun on him, and he didn't see it because she told him to go to the stagecoach. And there are so many things I was shocked by, but pleasantly shocked.
That is. Now, Jewel, I'll tell you what. I know that's one of your favorite verbs. And in this case, nail on the head. Yeah.
It's everything they did was so fresh. And that's the best thing I can say about a movie that has been done and done and done over and over and over again. If you can do Christmas Carol this fresh after how many times it's been done, it's like, okay, I'm impressed.
Well, now they hired, here's their ace in the hole, is they hired writers.
Yeah.
They instead of just going with these canned versions that, have been in circulation for years, and even the ones that are new still Oh, we're going to get to the heart of Dickens, the real Dickens. You know, the essence of Dickens. It's always the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can bring up exceptions that prove the norm, but it's always the same for me. So I relish the opportunity to see someone treat this like like a mythos, like a real clearly defined mythos. And speaking of which, there was a series that they did that television producers did after this. I don't know if it's the same people or not, called Dickensian, like Dickens. And Dickensian treated all of Charles Dickens' novels like the Avengers, and he had them all in a shared universe.
Nice.
It was a really interesting concept. I never got to see the series, but it's a very interesting concept.
How every time I watch Guy Pearce, I'm always impressed. How underrated is he as an actor, you think?
Wrong place, wrong time for that guy. Literally got that guy. I think he's very underrated, and I think he's underemployed, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I think that Hollywood's missing out.
Yeah. I mean, when you watch this, the guy's way too talented to be sitting at home.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know what he's doing, but I'm sure he's employed somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. He better be.
Yeah, I don't think he's washing dishes at IHOP.
Right, for sure.
That guy Pierce, he was great. I like how it's yeah.
I mean, he's just so naturally good. Not just him. Him and the guy who played Jacob Marley have such a great chemistry. Even like for Ghost and a Living Person, I love the scene at the end where they're sitting at the tombstones, and it's really smart because he says, "I don't care. I'm not worried about redemption for myself." He goes, "But the one thing I want is for that boy to live." And he's talking about Tiny Tim. And they keep telling him, "This isn't about you, Ebenezer. This isn't about you." And in every way, they're right. It's not. It's about the, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's about the people around you affect.
Yes.
For better or worse. And that's life in general, because for every one person you affect, the logic is you affect maybe 4 or 5 others, depending on one decision you even make. Which I think that's something they really get. I mean, other Christmas carols get into this, but not like this.
Yeah. They're very clear with the messages they want you to take. This is not anything that has been done haphazardly. Or they if it has its I'm trying to compose my thoughts. Its advantage is exactly what's also its disadvantage, and it is going into that mythos. The disadvantage of it being that we are suddenly having to make concrete things that existed just in the backs of the imagination, which for one thing made us partners in storytelling. But for another, if Scrooge sees the scariest thing he can imagine, we have to think about the scariest thing we imagine. But when it's articulated, every other possibility goes away. However, they have such good taste, I think, and some edgy stuff too. But for the most part, some very good taste, that it works.
Yeah,
it really works.
To the sequences of where Ebenezer comes out and they said, you've caused this, and you see the downfall of a business, because he was buying his father's businesses, and he completely unemploys everybody by shutting down this printing press, I think. And then there's the incident in the mines where it collapses and stuff too. So he has made some decisions. You see where he has made decisions that have affected people in a negative way, but where it's affected him in a positive way.
Yeah.
I mean, and the one thing I like too is they really get into how excellent of a mathematician Ebenezer Scrooge really
Yes.
is. I mean, that,
A
what
human
did you think?
calculator.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
I thought that made a lot of sense. It's something that never occurred to me, but it's something that really makes a tremendous amount of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of all the cool, because we get flashbacks of Ebenezer, and what did you think of all the cool flashbacks we got of Ebenezer Scrooge?
I think they're very well handled. I think it created a clear path to where he is at the present. I think they were touching and poignant and well wrought. I think they still felt fresh. Um, so when you put all of that together, that's a very potent combination.
Yeah. What did you think of Jacob Marley walking through these trees towards a fire? And like there's something you can tell there's something moving through the trees. So they're building the horror. They built the horror elements from the word go in this movie. What did
Yeah.
you think of that?
I think it's necessary. I think, having a realistic depiction of what sex work was like back then. Uh, I mean, not too realistic, not graphic, but the world that these people existed in uh, gives a lot of depth and richness to the story because it was not fun in any way, and I think that lack of glamour really helps. If anything, it was still too bright, but you can't film a movie in the
Right.
sort of dark that London had back then. You wouldn't be able to see anything. You'd be like the credits in a Pink Panther movie, and they switch out the lights, and you just see eyes moving around, and that's no way to deal with Jack the Ripper.
I talked about how Dan Curtis would have been something Dan Curtis would have made and enjoyed. When we
Yeah,
think of Dark Shadows, we think of all the dark worlds Dan explored. Not, yeah, he did take a lot from the Universal monsters, but he made them in a way where they were dark, but also he also at times made them sympathetic too. Adam, for example, not just Barnabas, obviously, but he took us like Dan Curtis took us down into hell briefly, but he took us there. Here, I could see where he would have done this, where he would have started off with this whole somebody, a ghost coming out the ground. It This is something that I think he would have definitely enjoyed, and it was enjoyable to watch. I watched this with my wife, and I said, this is
what
really good.
what did she think?
She enjoyed it. She watched. We both finished watching it together. She goes, "That was different," and I said, "Yeah, it was. It's really good."
Well,
Um,
Joel, that makes me really happy. As I said, I saw part of it once. I wanted to see the whole thing, and
yeah,
I just thought it would be a good crossover with the theme of your show.
yeah. I mean, we had covered the 1984 Christmas Carol, so yeah, it's something. That's the thing. Like Christmas, this is something I'm going to bring up for the Muppets Christmas Carol. Is that look? There are satires like Muppets and Scrooge, like Bill Murray's Scrooge. And when you look at the other Christmas carols, do they have some of them don't have humor in them really? They have very serious tones. Like Reginald Owens, uh, where he did Ebenezer Scrooge. That was a very serious Christmas carol. It wasn't as dark as what this is because it was made in a different time. But this here, I mean, like I said, when you're making something that has been done time and time and time again, and you try to look for the different things, this is letting you know, hey, we're completely different than what those other guys were. And it's refreshing to see.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what do you think was their first major signal to the world that this is not going to be like Christmas Carol has been done before?
Jacob Marley. And
What
in
about him? In
every
every
way,
regard?
yeah, in every regard, because we never, in any Christmas carol, we never get the story starting off with Jacob Marley. It's always Ebenezer, Ebenezer, Ebenezer. Not this time. We start off with somebody pissing on Jacob Marley's grave. They go down into the grave, and that's something we've never seen with Jacob Marley having those 2 coins on his eyes, and then him not. You hear, if the dead don't rest, that's bad for them, and it's because of the way they lived. Well, guess what? That's Jacob Marley. The way he lived is the reason he's not resting. And his only chance for redemption is through his friend Ebenezer Scrooge. And even he has doubts that it'll happen.
Sure. It's a perfect karma trap, you know?
Yeah. Where do you think this movie was different from most? Where did it start for you?
I think when we started finding out about how the chains were forged for Marley, that was, I said, wait a minute, what is this? And then off like a rocket.
Yeah. And the ghost being the tad different. The ghost of Christmas past being a lot darker. The ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future. They were all a lot more darker and cynical in this.
Yeah.
And they should have been. I mean, this movie did not disappoint from start to finish, because everything it's like you're not expecting any of this, and you get all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they did. I would want the guy that wrote this to, like, if Mark B. Perry had to hire another writer for DS, hire this dude, because
I agree.
Like,
I couldn't do any better.
Right, he got it. So, because again, he's writing something that needs to be different from other versions that have come before him. And I mean, it couldn't have been an easy task, but he did it.
No. And it needs to be in wider circulation.
Yep, it does. It needs, I don't know if this is on DVD, but it needs got a goddamn release, that's for sure.
Yeah. It goes on and off DVD a lot, I think. Or no, not this. I was thinking of something else, but related to it. But I don't know if this is on Blu-ray and home release. I'm sure there's something about it.
It needs to be.
I agree. Yeah.
Not like if they announce this in 4K tomorrow, I'd pre-order it.
Sure.
Like it's that good. I mean,
you're no commie. This isn't the fascist theocracy of France. No, this is America, where you buy your English Victorian morality tales as ghost stories like a real man, like an American.
I did get Star Trek Deep Space Nine for Christmas. That was
you told me that at a very good price. What, 150 more or less?
$100, yeah, $100. A little over $100. A little over. Yep.
Sweet Midge, that's great. That's great.
I'll
enjoy it.
I'm going to the store tomorrow to get some root beer. And
good man.
Throw it into DVD. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I give this a 10.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah.
If you guys want to go watch this, it is on Disney Plus. I highly recommend it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want something to scare you into the belief of Christmas, this will do it. This will do it.
Damn straight. Yeah.
Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows. Sorry, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry.
No, I think it's terrific. Go see it.
Yeah.
There.
Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound will be in the description box. Go pick that up if you haven't already. It's a great read. I'm Jules Sains. That's my buddy Patrick. I'll see you Saturday, buddy.
Take care, sir.
Bye.
Bye.